Attention all F1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. Christian Horner might be the mastermind behind Red Bull's dominance of Formula 1, but could he be on his way out of the team? Could we see Christian Horner or even Adrian Newey on the Ferrari pit wall? Let's take a look at Ferrari's move to sign Christian Horner, as well as their attempts to sign more of the Red Bull team. Buckle up as we take a look at Christian Horner to Ferrari. Red Bull have been the dominant force in Formula 1 over the past 2 years. They've not only had the fastest car, but they've also had the fastest driver on the track. Part of that is down to team boss Christian Horner. Having previously worked in Formula 3000, he was the man in charge when Red Bull joined the sport in 2005. He was the youngest team principal on the grid at the time, and it turned out to be a brilliant move. 5 years after entering the sport, Horner was watching on as Sebastian Vettel took Red Bull to their first world title. That would have been a pretty impressive achievement on its own, but Horner led his team to 4 double titles in a row. A phenomenal achievement for such a young team. He's still the principal at Red Bull today and has led them to 2 more drivers' titles as well as another Constructors' Championship. Horner is one of the best team principals in the sport. One of the reasons why Ferrari are the most successful team in Formula 1 history is because they often have the best people. Ferrari's big budget mean they've been able to go out in the past and get the best talent. In the past, they've been able to sign Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne, who led the team to their success in the early 2000s with Michael Schumacher in the car. Current Mercedes technical director James Allison made his name with the Scuderia. Due to often being on the lookout for the best talent both in and out of the car, Ferrari has previously shown interest in signing Christian Horner to be their team principal. Their interest was particularly high last year. Last year, it was clear that Ferrari needed to move on from Mattia Binotto, as the team were faltering on the track and in the garage. There were constant mistakes which took Ferrari from title leaders after the first 3 races to barely holding on to second in front of Mercedes. Ferrari bosses turned their attention to the team principal, who was taking his team to one of the most dominant title wins in history, Christian Horner. It was clear halfway through the season that Red Bull were going to win both titles in 2022. This led to Ferrari beginning talks with Horner for him to become the team's principal. By the sounds of it, the negotiations seemed to go pretty well. We now know that Horner was actually incredibly close to leaving Red Bull to join Ferrari, but there was one man standing in the way of the move happening. One man convinced he could persuade Horner to stick with Red Bull. Helmut Marko has a huge involvement with the Red Bull team, and he was the man who kept Horner with Red Bull. In an interview with Blick, Marko explained how important he was to keeping Horner with the team. Marko said, "It took me a whole night to convince Horner to stay with Red Bull, and that cost us extra millions." Helmut seemed to take a bit of delight about being able to disappoint Ferrari. There is no doubt that it would have cost Red Bull millions to keep Horner. Ferrari's offer would have likely been based on 2 things: money and legacy. Ferrari are of course the biggest brand in Formula 1, and winning with them is the biggest achievement in the sport. But winning with Ferrari is not an easy job at the moment. So there is no doubt the Scuderia will have been offering millions and millions of pounds at Horner. Red Bull would have had to match that deal, or at least get close to that deal. At the beginning of the season, Christian Horner was asked about the potential move to Ferrari. He was brutally honest about the situation, saying, "It's hugely flattering to have been asked by Ferrari, but they're a great team and I'm sure they'll be very competitive." Ferrari's interest in Horner shows he's likely doing something right, but the team did end up going with the Alfa Romeo boss Fred Vasseur. At the moment, it really does not look like that move has been successful. Ferrari are not only still miles behind Red Bull, but they've been overtaken by Aston Martin and Mercedes. There are a number of problems with the current Ferrari, including terrible tyre degradation, lack of straight-line speed and poor race pace. So it seems like whatever Fred Vasseur is doing is not working in the short term. Could this lead Ferrari to a similar pursuit that they've made in the past? Adrian Newey is the technical genius behind the current Red Bull dominance, but he has been working in Formula 1 for decades, creating exceptionally fast cars throughout. He's produced World Championship winning cars for 3 different teams and an incredible 7 different drivers. His technical brilliance has led Ferrari to target Newey multiple different times. In fact, Newey has spoken about twice being tempted to join Ferrari in his Formula 1 career up until this point. In an interview recently, Newey said, "I've had discussions with Ferrari in the past. I've been very tempted because it's such a legendary brand." He gave a huge amount of detail on the talk, saying, The time that was most tempting would have been around 1993 and 1997, when I moved from Williams to McLaren. Newey went on to say, "That was a very tough choice. At the time my kids were young and I didn't know how they would settle in Italian school. If I was to move to a team that was based in Italy, I would have had to move to Italy with my family." Red Bull team boss Christian Horner has been very open about how important Adrian Newey is to the team. Horner heaped praise on his ally, saying, "Adrian has been such a fundamental part since almost the beginning. He covers a lot of areas, and to have the depth of his experience and knowledge to draw upon, and the way he works with the young guys is great." What Horner is most pleased about is that Newey seems just as excited now as when he started in the sport. He added, "He's just as motivated as he's always been. Obviously, he has a great interest in what's going on in powertrains and Red Bull advanced technology as well, so he covers the 3 pillars of the campus in Milton Keynes." Horner also said, "It's a people business and that enables him to apply his expertise. He doesn't have to be there every single day on one particular topic. We're able to use the breadth of his experience across the group." It is clear that Adrian Newey is a huge part of Red Bull, with his expertise working in pretty much all of the different technical departments in Red Bull. While Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen or Christian Horner might also be in the running, Adrian Newey is likely the most important person in the history of the Red Bull team. Red Bull are starting to face the same problem that every successful team has struggled with. In the hybrid era, the technical theory of a lot of other teams was to poach someone from Mercedes' design team and hope they could recreate the success of the Silver Arrows. Red Bull are already seeing this happen. Dan Fallows was the man in charge of the aerodynamics department for Red Bull during their title-winning years of 2010 to 2013, and then again in 2021. He was pinched by Aston Martin to become their technical director, and this has already shown to be a great move for Aston Martin. Their success this year is absolutely linked to getting Fallows on board. McLaren have recently been able to get Red Bull's chief engineering officer Rob Marshall. Lando Norris has been thrilled by that signing, saying, "He's a big person, a big signing for us as a team, so I think someone that a lot of people within McLaren will look up to and respect and so on." While a lot of the Red Bull team is being pinched, the team should not be too concerned about losing either Christian Horner or Adrian Newey. It seems like both of these guys would have already left had they had an appropriate offer. Both have been targeted by Ferrari, and they are signings which make a lot of sense for the Scuderia. Adrian Newey might be the greatest mind in Formula 1 history, and yet he's not ever joined Ferrari. In my personal opinion, considering Newey's track record, there's no reason why Ferrari should not make an offer to make him the highest paid engineer in Formula 1 history. He has produced countless championship-winning cars, and could do the exact same for Ferrari. But as we know, it has been reported that Newey has signed a new lucrative long-term deal with Red Bull. Hopefully, they remain within the cost cap. Considering just how much it would take to get Christian Horner away from Red Bull, I don't think that would be a move worth pursuing. But there are quite a few other Red Bull personnel who would be brilliant for the Scuderia. While they're unlikely to sign Adrian Newey, his number 2 could be lured away from Red Bull. Pierre Wash is undoubtedly being lined up to replace Newey when he decides to retire. Maybe Ferrari could get in there and offer him full control of the design of the car right now, and take him away from the Milton Keynes-based team. In a similar fashion, Ferrari could target the chief engineer of performance, Ben Waterhouse. Undoubtedly a talented engineer, Waterhouse could be tempted by an immediate promotion with the Red Bull team. So what do you think? Could some of Red Bull's big guns be going to Ferrari anytime soon? Why not put your thoughts in the comments down below? While you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.